to play either Joe Perry or John Higgins for a place in the final. Just one meeting between this pair. That came in a PTC a couple of years ago. Stevens emerging the winner by the odd frame, so not much to go on.
We've got a slight misspelling in Matthew's name, but we know who it is.
Yeah, it should be an N instead of an M.
Yes.
They missed out an I in Stevens' Welsh compatriot Mark Williams' name yesterday. So someone needs a dictionary for Christmas.
I don't think he'll bother how it's spelled once he gets the first 5 frames on the board.
Well, Stevens is another player who has seen his form take a distinct turn for the better in the last 2 or 3 seasons after quite a while in the doldrums, lost his top 16 ranking, and for a while we wondered whether he'd ever regain it. Well, he has. Currently ranked at 15, and his results have been a lot more consistent in recent times, and a big chance this weekend to go much further.
First time we're seeing David here, I should say, on our screens this week. He's done very well to get here.
Currently shares the highest break of the tournament with John Higgins, 138, which he made against Gary Wilson.
That was a good return. Early problem here for Matthew. It's difficult to get the ball back to the balk area, especially with those reds on the right hand side there. Just played to put the white to the top cushion, but I think he's playing cushion first on the one that's nearest the pocket. And he's overhit that a little bit. That's miles too hard, and he's left a... Well, I don't know where this red above the black goes, but there's definitely one to the yellow pocket. And if this red goes, that's a very poor shot for Matthew. He was trying to just put the white to the top cushion.
Plenty of room for the red. He's undercut the black. Matthew Stevens asking referee Brendan Moore to clean the cue ball. Perhaps Morris was unfortunate there and got a heavy contact.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while for David just to settle down in these conditions, Phil, isn't it? You know, he hasn't been in this situation. I mean, I think it's probably once before, I think a couple of times before, but you know, not as much as obviously the more experienced player like Matthew. Matthew, of course, will be the favourite to win this match, but as we've seen this week already, nothing's guaranteed anymore in this game of snooker. There's too many good players around.
Lots of upsets. A couple of the game's leading lights didn't even make it to the televised stages, of course. Mark Selby and Sean Murphy bowing out at the round of 128, and we saw the likes of Judd Trump and Mark Allen lose in their first matches here in China.
Get into the business end though of this tournament, the first full-blown ranking event of the season. They can guarantee themselves £20,000 getting into the semi-finals tomorrow. £35,000 for the runner-up, and of course the cheque for £80,000 to the winner on Sunday evening. So we're getting into the big money. And this guy at the table's got the pedigree to lift it.
He certainly has, and if he did, it would be only the second ranking title success of his career, and that's an extraordinary statistic really for a player of Stephen's calibre. Won the UK, what seems like a lifetime ago now.
10 years ago.
Beating Stephen Hendry in the final. Won the Masters as well, back in 2000. And has come close on a number of occasions at the World Championship. A great record at the Crucible without ever having gone on to lift the title. Twice enjoyed commanding leads in his two finals against Mark Williams and Shaun Murphy before losing out in the end. And he's been a semi-finalist at the Crucible, a losing semi-finalist on 4 occasions.
Well, I hope this hasn't gone wrong, because I don't know whether he's covered the one on the right hand side. I wonder if he's covered the one on the left as well. Oh, that would be amazing if he's not on the red here. And that one won't go. I wonder about the other one. It seems it will. Now if you can run through, just get a little cannon on the red left of the black. Well, he hasn't got the angle to do that. He's got to find the gap with the white. He's missed that. That's too wide.
21.
Never looked in, did it? Perhaps concentrating more on position there, and maybe just took his eye off the pot for a second. The aerial view. I guess you could say David Morris was destined for a career in snooker. Grew up in Kilkenny, and he lived at number 147.
Good job his dad didn't get a free ball then. Well, this young man's played steady all week here. Wins against Gary Wilson, Gerard Green.
22.
And of course, that great win yesterday over Ali Carter, 5-4. So the confidence has been building right through the week.
28.
And the manner of that win over Carter, Mike, to prevail in a final frame decider against a player of Carter's ability, just shows he's got the temperament to go with his ability.
Well, just going away from them a little further than he would have liked. Still needs potting and a little stun run through for the black. Well played. Might need to just nudge these 4 reds here. Well, black's the ball, really. Just stay positive here, go full-blooded for the cannon. And if he gets these open, a great chance to win this opening frame. But he's missed the black.
The second black that he's undercut into that pocket. Suddenly Stevens with a great chance here to pinch this opening frame. Nothing safe on the table.
Set.
Bit of a stretch for Stevens, not a player who enjoys using the rest.
8.
He's getting more proficient though when he does switch hands. Oh, hello. Slow down. These tables are noticeably faster now than they were a couple of days ago.
Yeah, they were quite sluggish, weren't they, at the start of the tournament? And I think 1 or 2 of the top players really had a problem coming to grips with the fact that the tables were a lot slower than they used to. Brad Trump was one player who really struggled with his positional play in his shock defeat to Lu Ning. Li Hang, I should say. But as the week has progressed, undoubtedly the tables have got quicker. John Higgins, meanwhile, has made a fast start in his quarter-final against Joe Perry. Higgins certain to win that opener. Mopping up the last few balls. Chance of meeting with either Stevens or Morris, of course, in the offing. With Rob Milkins to play Neil Robertson in the other semi.
Still a possibility of the repeat final, of course, from Sofia, isn't there?
Indeed, when Higgins got the better of Neil Robertson in what was a high-class 3 days of snooker in Bulgaria. Ronnie O'Sullivan was there as well. O'Sullivan would have been here in Wuxi had it not been for a family bereavement that caused him to withdraw.
29.
Stevens, though, looking good here to get the first frame on the board against David Morris, who has twice missed a black off its spot in this frame. And at this level, it's rare that you don't get punished if you do that.
Just wanted to put a touch foul on the blue here. That's a great shot. Needs yellow and green.
Well, Morris did have a couple of decent chances in this opening frame, twice missing relatively routine blacks.
I just wonder, though, in this encounter here, Phil, that experience might tell.
Well, certainly Stevens holds all the aces in that department.
49.
Professional now for nearly 20 years, the Welshman. David Morris, pretty new to this big match environment. Early days, though. A long way to go. But it's Stevens who's made the better start as he clears the table. So Matthew Stevens strikes first in this quarter-final. 1-0, which has gone the way of Matthew Stevens. He has the honour in the second frame. Great opening red from Morris.
Well, let's see if he can make the most of this. He had two good opportunities there in that opening frame. Can't afford to give up too many chances like that. Not against Matthew Stevens, he's playing too well.
5.
Matthew's not right at the top of his game, but he's not far away from it.
Another good red from Morris. Needed a bit of luck with the kiss on the blue.
Yeah, it's not bad. Got an angle to come back for that red on the left-hand side there. 2 or 3 shots ahead. He'd like to get on the red above the black in such a way just to move that other one away from it. Well, I think he's played on the pink there, but he's just overdone it slightly, but he's okay. Got a good angle on the blue. Now, if you can just get top side of this red above the black, that would be perfect. Needs to slow down. It looks a little bit straight.
17.
Don't think he's got the angle to nudge that red. Oh, I don't know whether he can punch it. No, it's dead straight. I'm not sure whether he can squeeze enough angle there as well to try and move it. If he can't, just play on the pink or play on the blue. Just wait. I mean, he's been playing, David here has been playing most of his snooker this week on the outside tables, of course, Phil, but this will be a whole new ball game to him with the pace of these under the lighting. So much more cleaner, aren't they?
Yes, it's bound to take him a little while to adjust to the different conditions. But this is a promising start to this second frame.
Well, I think that is end of break. Pink having to go behind the pack. Yes, again, just probably landed a little bit too straight on the pink there. Didn't have much angle.
He's never been able to quite get prime position in this break, has he? But a useful early lead.
Well, that's got them open. And that's a good return. Matthew's just contemplating this little delicate red to the left middle. He can hold for the pink. If it's fairly straight, I think he might take it on. Well, he's looking to play a safety off that one now. And again, I think he's going to wait. Well, it would have helped David if it was touching, but it's not. Just wonder whether he can try and get the white back onto this top cushion behind the black. That would be a great shot. Well, he's tried the shot I suggested. It's not bad, but I think he might have left that red on for Matthew. And again, it's not a guarantee. It's the only one he can see. I just wonder whether he can hold the white behind the pink here. Even behind the black. Well, David's in trouble. Just off the right hand cushion for that red there, right of the pink. He needs to hit what we call the underside, the nearest side to us. Bring the cue ball towards the top cushion. That's if he plays that shot, of course, but if he hits the other side, he could possibly leave everything on. He's got to be careful here. Caught the wrong side. He's been lucky. Well, that could have been better. I think David might take this red on and drop onto the blue. That was a little bit careless from Matthew there. He's got the option of playing the safety, of course. Well, he took his time deciding, but it was a good one, and this is a great chance now.
Six.
Well, again, just the wrong side of the blue here. Might choose to go down for that red beyond the brown. Got to be careful that he goes far enough and he doesn't snooker himself on it.
Eleven.
And again, the pace of the table has caught him out. He's not been used to this pace too often. Just take you a little while just to get the stroke on them.
Seventy. 18.
Well, he had a trace aside on the white, but not quite enough. Looks like he's landed fairly straight on this blue. Yeah, there's no angle there. So, but if he brings it back roughly where it is now, a little bit further, he should be okay. Well, no reason why you can't wrap up the frame here and make it one apiece. That should settle him down a little bit.
31.
Just needs one more red after this blue. And if anything, he's gone a touch far again. I don't know whether he'll play a little cannon or possibly play off 2 cushions with the cue ball. He's dropping it in dead weight. Well, there you go. He's just gone a little bit far. Still needs this one. But he's in good position here, especially with that red on the side cushion. Shouldn't miss this. This to leave Matthew needing snookers then.
37.
And we have managed to get Matthew's name spelt correctly now.
The M replaced with an N. This is just the response that Morris needed, though, after the disappointment of losing that first frame when he had chances to take it.
22.
Certainty to win it now. Only 51 remaining. So one apiece, as you were.
Well, he's just beginning to find his range. Well, if he plays well, he knows he can win this match.
Angle to disturb the last red.
Nice shot. Caught it very well, and he can pop this one in and hold for the blue. Good angle to get down to the yellow. Go on, get in. Nah, pity.
Just a little wide. But that half-century break from David Morris, more than enough to level the match. It's Stevens 1, Morris 1. Frame 3 is next. Steele the second, as we return to the live action on table 2.
Yeah, just when we was on split screen there, you saw John Higgins back away from that shot and the mobile phone went off. I just wish they would check their mobiles before they come back into the arena.
I don't know what the solution is. short of actually banning mobile phones altogether, because it's been a problem throughout the week. Less so perhaps over the last couple of days, but certainly in the first 2 or 3 they were going off virtually every 30 seconds.
Well, it's only common sense and respect out for the players. Hand them in the sheriff's office, say, Dave. Call you Dave for us. Phil, sorry.
That's okay. It's quite all right. Dave is with Joe, watching the Perry-Higgins match over on Eurosport 1. Pretty close there from Stevens with the long red. What damage has he done? Not a lot, I don't think. Well, Higgins' hopes of pinching that second frame look to have been dashed, with Joe Perry back at the table mopping up the colours, so it looks as though it's going 1-1 on table 1 as well. Higgins now requiring snookers in that one. Winner of that, of course, to play the winner of this match. If you're just joining us today, the other semi-final, we'll see Neil Robertson take on Rob Milkins. Robertson edging Chow Yu-Peng of China 5-4 in a classic. Arguably the best match of the tournament to date, while Milkins came through a scrappier affair with Anthony Hamilton, but a richly deserved win for Milkins by 5 frames to 3. So it's Milkins-Robertson. And either Stevens or Morris against either Higgins or Perry.
Well, he caught the red too thin anyway, but now Matthew's got the cue ball in hand. There's a couple of pots that he could take on here. Well, he's looking at a shot to nothing to the left corner. Not this time. Well, that one was on, and I was just wondering whether he was going to take it on, and he's had a nice little cannon there to stay on the pink. Yeah, there was a slight gap that he could have possibly got the cue ball through. Well, I think he can see enough of the pink to pot it. Looks like he's not interested.
Brown. David Morris 1.
Well, he went for that one. He's left a red on to the left middle. There's also one to the green pocket. Well, if he's got a slight angle on the one to the green, he'll play that one just done over for the black. But if it's fairly straight, could be a little bit tight going onto that black.
Just 2 balls left on the table. Over on table 1. John Higgins requiring a snooker to tie now. That's the second frame. Higgins having won the first to lead 1-0.
Six. Nine. Ten.
Just wanted to creep past the blue there. He caught it pretty much full on, so things a lot tougher now for David Morris to continue the break. Opting for the yellow. Good shot. Once again, didn't want the kiss on the blue. So position remains elusive for Morris. Well, you see the red goes, no doubt about that, but it's not easy with the cue ball tied to the cushion. Attempted cut played with a degree of safety in mind, getting the cue ball back into baulk. So just 9 points Morris's lead in the early stages of this third frame. Just a reminder, by the way, that the next event on the brand new European Tour for the 2013-14 season underway on July the 19th in Rotterdam, the first professional snooker staged in the Netherlands for more than 20 years. That should be quite an event. And you can get tickets to see it from the World Snooker website, www.worldsnooker.com.
Yes, And very own Jan Verhaas. It's had a lot to do with putting that event on in Holland. And every credit to him.
Absolutely, should be a great event. Looking forward to that one. Played over 3 days from the 19th to the 21st of next month. And if you can't get tickets, you can always enjoy it here with us on Eurosport. We'll be there throughout the 3 days of action, but those tickets are available now. If you go to the World Snooker website, you'll get all the details you need. The tactical battle, meanwhile, continues in the early stages of frame 3. John Higgins failed in his attempts to get the snookers he needed, by the way, so it is 1 apiece now on table 1 between Higgins and Joe Perry.
Well, there was a chance of the pot there, but the priority, of course, was to get the white back to the baulk cushion. He's done very well there. David needs a similar shot here, of course. You've always got to be careful that you don't start pushing reds over the corner pockets. I think I was one of the best at that, Phil, when I was playing my safety. Unbelievable.
Well, you were just trying to give your opponent an even break, weren't you? Yeah. Typically generous of you.
Yes, lulling him into a false sense of security. Give him the first couple of frames. Didn't always work, though.
Well, things in danger of getting rather awkward in this frame, with reds beginning to congregate on the cushions. Black remains available to the right top pocket. Terrific pot from Morris. Struck that one very sweetly, didn't he?
Well, he's got some cue power, the lad, hasn't he? Got all the shots. It just needs some experience under his belt now. And 2 or 3 years down the road, no.
Mentioned that he first turned pro back in 2006, so he has been around for a while. Did get as high as 55 in the rankings, but he's dropped off the tour a couple of times, got back via Q School, as we mentioned earlier. And this, by far and away, the biggest success of his career to date, to reach a major quarter-final.
He gets a 2-year exemption now, doesn't he, coming through the Q School? So, you know, it's the first year just to put yourself into position, second year to really consolidate. You know, before it only used to be 1 year, and the pressure was on, really. So tough to stay on. Now these guys have 2 years in which to establish themselves, which I think is right, actually.
Well, you certainly have to earn your place, don't you, through Q School? Very competitive. The ranking points Morris is earning here, that current ranking of 145 will soon improve
30.
pretty dramatically. Signalled his ability at the age of 14 when he went to the semi-finals of the European Under-19 Championship. Quite an achievement for a 14-year-old. He looks like he's got a good temperament. Nice even pace around the table. Gradually manoeuvring himself into a position of strength in this third frame. Bit unlucky not quite to get the cannon he was looking for.
Yeah, the option was to leave the white near the top cushion and be a little bit annoyed with himself that he hasn't landed on that red, because he did have that option. Well, it's only a safety now.
David Morris 20.
John Higgins is at it again in frame 3 on a break of 50. Joe Perry having levelled the match at 1-all. Match continuing now on Eurosport 1, of course. Semi-finals day tomorrow, when we go from the best of 11, or the best of 9 I should say, to the best of 11. First to 6 frames. And the final played over 17, first to 9, but all that is to come. Meanwhile, rather loose safety from Matthew Stevens. Sees the cue ball travel back down the table. Half a chance here for Morris with one good red. Can stay on the black. Played it well. Wriggled that one in, it nearly stayed out.
It tried its best.
8.
Still got the problem of those 4 reds there, but just pop this black in first and then try and get an angle to disturb those. Ideally, it'd be better to be on the, well, where he is now, on the black, but I don't think he can get there, so it's all about where he positions the white here. I don't know if you can screw straight back from this red and land there again, that would be perfect. Well, he's got the angle.
70.
Well played, that's perfect. Well, the frame could be about this next shot now. The 2 reds are set, you can push the right on one to that corner, but just go into these full-blooded. He gets a good split. Well, it should be 2-1 to him. Oh, that's unlucky. Could have been better.
24.
John Higgins heading for another big century on table 1.
David Morris 24.
Matthews undercutting that red. And the gasps from the crowd on table 1 are for a missed black by John Higgins on the cusp of his 533rd century. So no century break for Higgins, but he won't mind too much because he's restored his lead against Joe Perry. Higgins 2-1 to the good.
Yes, that was a shame. The break broke down on 97, just overcut the black.
This, meanwhile, is the ball that David Morris needs to move 2-1 in front himself.
Tell you what, Phil, he's looking comfortable, isn't he?
Well, we talked about his lack of experience on the big stage. He looks right at home, doesn't he?
Mm.
8.
Would have been disappointed to lose the first frame, having had chances to win it. Missed a couple of relatively straightforward blacks, but that hasn't fazed him. He's put that disappointment behind him, and he's responded with 2 straight frames.
Well, I think the next one's going to be interesting, isn't it really? You know, from Matthew's point of view as well.
15.
Well, yes, a big frame, obviously. Difference between 3-1 and 2-0, 2-2.
15.
That red doesn't matter. Good stuff from David Morris. Very mature performance thus far against Matthew Stevens, who led 1-0, but now finds himself trailing by 2 frames to 1. One more frame to come before our mid-session interval. 5, of course, is the target. Frame 4 just underway then between Matthew Stevens and David Morris. These two playing for a place in the semi-finals of the Wuxi Classic Snooker. Morris having won the last 2 frames to edge in front. And the world number 145 looking very impressive in the early stages here. Stevens certainly won't be panicking though. Vastly experienced professional that he is. One loose safety in the previous frame proved costly. Well, he's not played that very well. It's another loose safety from Stevens. He hasn't got a red past the centre pocket. This is cuttable by Morris. Getting position will be the problem for him. Elected to go for the long red to the top end of the table. Missed it by some distance, and he's left this red. The problem for Morris there was that had he taken it into left centre, the cue ball was heading into the pack of reds. No guarantee of position. Stevens using what looks like a very weather-beaten extension on his cue here to get the extra leverage.
Might play a cannon into something here, unless you can get enough action on the white just to avoid the pack. There's a red, goes to the left corner. Might just stun up 2 cushions here. He's gone for the cannon. No, 2 cushions it is. Slow down. He's got to trace aside. He might have gone too far.
6.
This table has picked up over the last couple of days. It's lightning fast now. It's so responsive. Just a trace of side on the cue ball, and you've lost position. And there you go.
Barely recognisable from the conditions on the first couple of days.
They're playing beautifully now, Phil, aren't they?
safety then for Stevens. Wanted to slip past the brown ideally, but he's left nothing.
Well, if that red wasn't there on the top cushion, there would have been a path back to bulk, but I think that's stopping that plan. You'll have to find another way. I'm not sure whether there's too many options here either. Well, down the left-hand side, I think, the table as we look. Ooh, caught the second red. That's disastrous. Well, that could prove to be very costly indeed. It was a good return safety by Matthew Stevens, but there was a chance to get back to the bulk area there for David. Just caught the red all wrong.
Six. Seven.
Coming back to the tables as well, Phil, you know, with the heat underneath and everything drying out, it's a constant brushing and ironing as well. It's like just nipping the greens at Augusta, isn't it?
Yes, we've talked about how responsive these cloths are where conditions are at the optimum, and that's just how the modern players like it.
Well, just look at that. He's hardly struck that. Beautiful stroke on the ball, and you know that's what the boys like to do. They like to get through the cue ball with, you know, minimum effort and get maximum effect.
I guess the one thing you could say, Mike, if you were being picky, is that arguably less skill required now in terms of the cue power that you would have needed back in, say, the 1980s when conditions were heavier, the cloths weren't as responsive, and it was the players who had the ability to really get into the reds and split them asunder that prospered more. And perhaps that's an element of the game which isn't quite so necessary now.
Yeah, I bought the Charles Atlas book, you know, just to build myself up, really.
I remember John Parrott saying to me, though, and I think I'm right in saying that 7 of John's 9 ranking titles came abroad. And he said part of the reason why he had so much success overseas in ranking events compared with the UK, and of course he won the world in the UK here, so he did it in the UK as well. But he felt that because conditions were markedly heavier when he played abroad, you needed that extra cue power to really get the reds open, and that was one of his great strengths.
Yeah, well, I think me and John had similar styles, actually, because we used to punch the ball around rather than a lot of these lads sort of stroke them, like the Ronnies and the Stephen Hendrys and all that sort of thing. But definitely we used to sort of punch into the ball. And I was, because I started, you know, when I was a young kid with the the old crystallite balls, and it was damp conditions, so you needed to have a pretty good cue action to push the balls around the table. I think all of the old stars started that way, but the new stars, they start in these conditions straight away, because invariably, oh, you see the white going there, invariably the tables are done up for them at the club, either by the parents or by the club owners or by the sponsors, whatever. So they're playing on these conditions automatically now, whereas in the olden days you had to sort of play on heavier cloths with heavier balls. So I understand what you're saying, but say me and John probably had some, we did have quite similar styles actually in getting through the ball. But when you see these lads just stroke the balls around, I mean, there's nobody better than Ronnie when he's putting it together. You know, Stephen Henge was the same. Mark Williams, they just love the super fast cloth, so you can just touch them. Nice touch there. But they do take getting used to.
Well, I guess the other thing about these modern tables, Mike, is that the nap is less important than it used to be. Because back in the day, when the cloths were that little bit thicker, you could really tell when you were playing against the nap, couldn't you? I mean, the ball would visibly deviate, less so now.
Yes, into the middles especially. You'd aim for the back half of the pocket and it'd come back into the middle. They hardly move off line these days. You're playing into the centre of the pocket all of the time, knowing that they're not going to move.
So there have been some subtle changes in the way the game is played over the last 20 years or so as things have evolved.
Well, you know, in any sport, can't you? You know, the plastic coated footballs and whatever, they're lighter, they deviate in the air, don't they? Give goalkeepers nightmares.
Well, golfers now driving the ball 400 yards.
Oh, incredible,
because of the new technology. Things do move on, and you have to adapt to the changes.
The old hickory shafts, to the old new titanium graphites. And
well, I guess you could describe Stevens as one of the old guard.
Yeah, well, on the cusp.
Somewhere between, kind of bridging the gap between the old and the new. Turned pro in '94, so nearly 20 years on the circuit now. He's witnessed the various subtle changes in the game down the years. Still only 35, Matthew.
Well, you know, the way the game is and whatever, you can keep yourself reasonably fit. He's got a good 5 years in him, really. I mean, it could be even more because Steve Davis. What's Steve now? 56, is he? 57, something like that?
His ranking still lower than his age, which is his stated goal from here on in. And we know there are a number of players, Rob Milkins, Mark Davis, Anthony Hamilton, who had a good run here before his defeat by Milkins today, who are enjoying something of an Indian summer. Davis into his 40s, playing the best snooker of his life. Made the UK semi-finals last season. Beat John Higgins in the World Championship. Hamilton another 40-something. Milkins heading that way. Ronnie O'Sullivan's just won his 5th world title, age 37. He'll be 38 later this year, so there's no reason why you can't still enjoy success as you head into your 40s, as long as your eyesight stays good.
25.
And keep yourself in reasonable shape.
26.
That looked like a heavy contact to me, but Stevens continues. 52 points to the good. In the frame he needs to level the match at the mid-session interval. John Higgins, by the way, on a break of 43 as he looks to move 3-1 in front of Joe Perry on table 1.
Yeah, he's just starting to motor over there, John Higgins. We thought that was going to be a cracker between those two. I know the form that Joe Perry's been in of late, but we've seen the determination of John Higgins from the off this season, haven't we?
Well, Higgins would have been mindful, I'm sure, that Perry's been in good form, and he would have been aware that he probably needed to raise his game a little today, and it looks as though he's doing just that. But yes, Higgins already with a title under his belt in Sofia.
Yeah, and that's out of respect for Joe, of course.
Well, it's good to see Perry playing well again. Slipped out of the top 16 in recent times, but a former World Championship semi-finalist. With some great results recently. Yes, down to 20. Now 19th. Started at 20, so he's moved up a spot. Pretty tight around that top 16 area. Although I guess, Mike, you could say with the advent of players now entering at the round of 128, the top 16 ranking isn't as important as it was, although of course certain tournaments are still protected, not least the World Championship.
Yes, but of course the Masters as well, but we've got 3 cut-off points now during the year, haven't we? It's not as if it like you start the season in the top 16 and you seeded through. You know, if you could be sitting at number 27 and all of a sudden you could be in the top 16 and be in the Masters. So you can see where the cut-off points are in the calendar, and you can target your events and try and gain as many points as possible.
Matthew Stevens just a ball away here from clinching this 4th frame.
And the danger he's got that if he tries to just dolly this in and he misses it, he's going to leave everything on for David, but he's got it. Well played. Well, he's played it well. He's played it in such a way not to leave the other red on, so it's good thinking.
Good response this from Stevens to Morris's 2-frame run.
Yeah, this was a big frame here for Matthew. There's no way he wanted to be 3-1 behind at the interval.
Matthew Stevens, 40.
59 the difference, 66 Stevens lead. So David Morris needs a couple of snookers here to have any chance of salvaging this frame. Doesn't want that to go in.
The worst thing for him is put the blue safe as well, which you'll need later on. Well, this frame should be over now. Well, the red near the black won't go. He's still got the one on the right-hand side. Quite there yet, i.e. for a concession. That's a clever shot. He's got the blue away from that core side cushion, I should say, but he's left the red on, unfortunately. So if this goes in, that's definitely 2 apiece.
Clean as a whistle.
Yeah, I'm sure Matthew happy to be 2-2 at the interval. Actually, he can think about things in that 15-minute interval and probably come out all guns blazing. We know that he's finished this match. He's had to just hang in there so far.
Best of 9 has become a best of 5.
Set.
Both players are playing pretty well. Who knows, it could go to the wire.
14. 15. 22. 23. 30.
Well, I think he'll be reasonably happy. 2 apiece. Everything to play for in the second half. Has he got that one? Oh, good shot.
So Stevens just polishing off the colours here as we prepare to head into our mid-session break.
39.
Joe Perry needs snookers, by the way, on table 1 in the 4th frame. Higgins poised to move 3-1 in front in that one. And Matthew Stevens has polished off the 4th frame of our match here on Eurosport 2. So all to play for after the interval. 2 apiece between Stevens and David Morris.
Yes, honours even here. The next 2 frames are going to be mightily important for both players, of course. I can tell you the players have returned on the other table as well. They've just started their 5th frame. Well, David put his hand up there because I don't think he played it that way. He played the white between the brown and the green. Lucky not to cannon into that red there. Good shot. Well, there's a possible shot to nothing here. The 3 reds just lined up together, just this side of the pink. I think he's had a look at the one that's possibly nearest to us. Safety in mind. Might even be hitting the middle one of the 3. It's the N1, not quite thin enough, but he knew what he was doing with the cue ball, and that's a great shot. Well, David had Matthew in trouble there, and that was probably about the best he could do. He's given him a little tempter across the table, but that's tricky. I think he should just slide off that red he's nearest to. Well, he's having a go. Well, he thought he had the angle. They did have the angle to push into the black. Never going to be an easy pot. Great shot, and he's on the black. Yeah, it's worth another look. Well, again, another occasion there where well, another player would have used the rest, but you know, Matthew doesn't like doing that, so just switch to the left hand. It's great when you got that in your armoury. Don't think any of these lines have quite got to the level of Ronnie O'Sullivan with that yet.
He's the past master, isn't he? Judd Trump, we've seen swapping hands on occasions.
Jack Lazowski. I'm sure there's going to be a few tussles between those two in a few years' time, Phil, Jack and Judd.
Best of friends off the table and potentially best of enemies on it. Great to see a player like Lazowski start to make the breakthrough. Some very encouraging signs for him that he's ready to really step up into the top league. Came very close to toppling Mark Williams this week, just losing out in a final frame decider. Made his Crucible debut, of course, in the spring, and you just sense that he is ready now to make a name for himself.
This guy at the table is already there.
24. 25.
Stevens looking mystified there at the lack of action on the cue ball. Finished a little in no man's land here. Needs a good one here. Played it well. Didn't touch the sides.
40. 41.
Well, slightly hampered by the red on the side cushion. Shouldn't be a major problem. Didn't want the kiss on the red.
48.
All reds and blacks so far. That one's gone awry.
He's just clipped the red on the way through. He obviously thought there was enough room there. Well, that hasn't done too much damage. Great shot. It was on, but it still had to be made. A little unlucky to see the white finish there. I think it's just a rolling behind the colour, but he's got to get this dead weight. As you watch the replay. This has to be dead weight, otherwise he could leave reds on. Very delicate touch. It slid by the green. I wonder whether that might have moved a little bit.
I don't think there's much doubt that those shots are harder on these super fast cloths than they would have been 15, 20 years ago to roll up snugly to a bought colour. As Morris sees his attempt at a long red missed by some distance. Stevens having the cue ball cleaned. Opportunity here for him to clinch the frame with one good red. Just the safety then off the red after failing to get decent position on a colour for Stevens. But he's in charge here with a 50-point lead. Still plenty on for Morris. He gets a chance. Once again, wide of the mark, and the double kiss has left the cue ball right amongst the red. So a golden chance now for Matthew Stevens to edge in front. Played the positive shot, went for the red, but missed it by some margin.
Just one more red needed then to lead 3-2.
16.
Crowd acknowledging that that was the ball that Stevens required to move in front. And he is looking much more like the player that we saw lift the UK and Masters titles some years ago now.
Yeah, 2-2 at the interval, Phil. You just get the feeling that Matthew's going to come out, you know, and just take a grip on this match. He knows he should win.
31.
The established guys tend to suddenly find another gear, don't they, when needed.
Yes, that's exactly what Neil Robertson did against Chow Yu Peng earlier on. Found himself 4-3 down and on the cusp of defeat. Came up with two very big frames
39.
to edge the match. And Stevens looking to move through the gears here. Morris has shown plenty of tenacity this week, though. Remember, he came through a final frame decider of his own against Ali Carter in the previous round, so he'll believe he can do it again. But Stevens has done more than enough in this fifth frame to clinch it and edge into a 3-2 lead. He's 2 away from victory, and we'll have the sixth frame when we come back after the break. 5 the target for a place in the last 4, and a meeting with either John Higgins or Joe Perry. Higgins leading 3-1 on table 1 and at the table with a 29-point lead and in amongst the reds. So Higgins looking set fair for a 4-1 advantage. That match continues over on Eurosport 1. Earlier on, Rob Milkins set up a crucible rematch with Neil Robertson, who lost to Milkins, of course, in the first round of the World Championship. Milkins having beaten Anthony Hamilton 5-3, Robertson having come through 5-4 against the home favourite Zhao Yupeng.
Well, that was a tough red to take on there for David. Didn't need the double kiss either. Well, that was surprising. I didn't think he'd miss that one.
Applause from the neighbouring table is for John Higgins, who has extended his lead over Joe Perry to 4-1. So Higgins just a frame away now from booking his place in another major semi-final, chasing his 26th career ranking title. Here's Higgins. And of course, he's already won the European Tour event in Sofia this season with his brand new cue.
Well, it's a great pot. Matthews just beginning to motor here a little bit. Struck it beautifully.
Seven. Eight.
Great chance here for Matthew to move further ahead.
10.
The black is available into the right corner if he can get on it. Still a few loose reds here.
Yellow.
Played okay yesterday, Matthew, to beat Peter Lyons, Phil, didn't he? It wasn't a great match between them. Neither of them really produced the best. But he did enough, but he's playing much better today.
Yes, it looks like he's raising his game as we enter the climax of the tournament. Beginning to go through the gears now.
14.
What an achievement it would be for Stevens to add his second ranking title success 10 years after he claimed his first. It would be long overdue, certainly, for a man of his considerable talents. Another measure of just how tough it is to win a ranking title these days. So much competition. Back in the 80s, you might have argued that there were only a handful of players capable of doing it. Now, potentially dozens who've got the game to go all the way. Oh, but that's a careless one from Stevens. Just didn't get the action on the cue ball there at all, did he? He wasn't on the black, even if the red had dropped. So that was a bit of a surprise. He looked as though he was motoring. As it is, just the 19-point lead in this 6th frame. Stevens then with this modest 19-point lead in the 6th frame of our quarter-final. And he would have expected it to be much bigger than that, having failed on that straightforward red just now. Another half chance here though with the long red.
Yeah, it likes these as well, actually, Phil. I've been noticing he's just sort of trying to float these in with a bit of side, sort of a 3/4 ball pot. I think he's playing the left-hand one of the two. Yes, he is. He knocks a high percentage of these in.
Well predicted, Mr. H.
Well, he didn't let me down that time, did he? But he does, you know, from that sort of distance, he hardly misses that shot.
That wasn't the cleanest pot, but he's got decent position on the red.
3.
Yes, and black only available to one corner, but I think if he just brings the white back a couple of inches here, he'll be on the pink to the middle, and you can try and get on that red nearest the black. Within, you know, 2 or 3 shots, everything should open up for him here. Well, decided to go back for the blue, but he's on the brown. This needs a good positional shot. He's trying to get on the... Well, is there a plant there?
8.
I was thinking he's trying to get on the red that's just right at the pink, but this could be a 2-ball plant if he can get through the gap.
Has to be made. Bit of distance between the two reds.
Well, from there, he's attacking them from the right angle.
Straight in the centre of the pocket.
9.
Well, even for Matthew, he's used to these tables, that the pace is catching him out a little. This needs another good, precise positional shot. There's the red that he can get on just right of the pink there. He can try and get on the one that's nearest the black. But I say, it needs to be good position. Oh, he's gone to split them. That's a great shot. I wasn't sure whether they had the angle to run through, but that's worked out very nicely indeed. And this is just becoming a good chance here to take this frame.
Well, he couldn't have played that any better. A really delicate touch from Stevens. Wasn't happy with the contact there. Was the cue ball. Just grazes the bumper and stays out. Very straight on this blue.
It's okay, you can drop this in. He's got the left on red, of course. Well, he'll get the right side in a minute.
Yeah, it's not quite so easy this time for Stevens to get position on the next red. Joe Perry has just broken down on a break of 53 in the 6th frame against John Higgins, who needs just one more for victory.
Oh, this looks very good. Just keeps going. Now, has he got there? He's got the one nearest the pink, but he wants the one near the black. No, not quite got there.
It was a nice recovery shot though, wasn't it, from Stevens, around the angles, off the blue. Now he's the right side of the blue.
Yeah, and that red that he's just potted, it's opened up the other two, hasn't it?
Beginning to look a bit ominous in this frame for the underdog David Morris.
It certainly is. It's looking like 4-2. And of course the semi-finals, which start tomorrow, let's not forget, will be the best of 11s.
While John Higgins misses a relatively straightforward red into left centre, Joe Perry with another chance to clinch that frame and close the gap.
Matthew needs the black and one more red. Ooh, hang on.
Well, he wanted a fuller kiss on the pink, didn't he?
Do you know, it's amazing, isn't it, when you just get to that point in the frame, Phil, how many times we've seen them run out of position on frame ball? And it's so frustrating.
And the margins are so fine. You're talking millimetres, the difference between an easy red frame over and potentially seeing the frame snatched from your grasp. It's happened before. Even so, Morris with a mountain to climb here. He can only tie, and that's with 4 blacks with the remaining 4 reds. So Stevens the hot favourite in this frame, but the job not quite done.
Well, it should be over now. That's a loose one. Well, I can tell you that Joe Perry's just knocked in frame ball, so it will be 4-2 over the other side. And it's looking like 4-2 here as well. Well, especially now.
Stevens then poised to move 2 up with 3 to play.
Six. Seven.
Crowd enjoyed that one.
I think they did.
Struck it so sweetly.
Go on, slap the blue in as well, at pace. Oh, that's boring.
Wasn't a bad shot though.
Dear me.
Bordering on arrogance.
20.
When the pressure is off these players, we see what they're really capable of, the skills they possess, and it's frightening. They make this game, which is so difficult, look ridiculously easy.
25.
Well, have to admire the skills of Matthew Stevens. Yes, the frame long since gone, but this is some clearance he's put together here. Doesn't bother with the black, doesn't need it. Tremendous stuff then from the Welshman, the former UK and Masters champion. 4-2 up. He needs just one more frame for a place in the Wuxi Classic semi-finals. So Morris breaking off then in a frame he has to win to keep his hopes alive.
Not a great break-off shot. He's brought the red up the table and he hasn't covered it. Just caught the pack too thick. I think Matthew can cut this one in. It's just a question of where the white finishes. Nicely poised now, Phil, isn't it, on these 2 quarterfinals? 4-2 on both tables.
The favourites living up to their billing at the moment, at least. It was a thin cut.
He needs to hit something. Yeah, sorry, he needs to hit something here. Well, thicker contact would have been nice. Touching ball. He didn't want to hit that any more than that because it would have slid off that red and left Matthew a red on.
It very nearly did, didn't it? It just stuck on the red when another couple of millimetres further down and Stevens would have had a nice easy starter with the black to follow.
Touching ball has been declared, so he can play away from this red then. Deemed to have hit it already. What you can't do is move a touching ball deliberately because that is a foul.
Because you're deemed to have pushed it, presumably.
Yeah. seen occasions, Phil, where the white is finished in the middle of the pack when the player has potted the ball, not a colour on, and not a way out either. And then they have to nominate a colour and play directly towards that colour through the pack. It doesn't happen very often, that, but all of a sudden, the occasion where you've potted the ball, white's gone into the pack, and the reds have come back in behind it.
So you can't help but play a foul.
No. There's no other way out. You've got to nominate a colour, but what you've got to do is aim directly at that colour, even if you have to go through 2 or 3 reds.
Bit of a minefield, the snooker rulebook, isn't it? There's all sorts.
It's not quite as bad as the golf rules book, is it? Shot. Just saw the backspin take effect there. Once he's cannon into those 2 reds, nicely on the pink. Got early chance here for David to try and claw one back.
Yes, he's been rather frozen out, hasn't he, in the last couple of frames. Stevens has been dominating the table since the mid-session interval.
Perhaps it's his turn now.
8. $14. 15. 21.
Is it wide? Oh,
22.
well, I think that's known as going in through the side door. It did look as though he might have pinched a bit too much there. And it dropped in, that's all that counts.
$28. 29. 35.
Well, this one doesn't drop. Overcut it. He's done that a few times today. Cost him the opening frame. A couple of missed blacks off their spots when he got the angles a little wrong.
Yep, I'm afraid so. Just starting to look good, and then he's thrown one in.
I think Stevens was distracted there by yet more noise or perhaps some movement in the crowd, and there goes another mobile phone.
Thank you.
Well, it's the bane of any professional snooker player's life, because so much concentration required at this level of the game.
Well, I don't understand why they can't just check them before they come back into the arena. They should be doing that really. Put it on silent mode. Even before the match starts. You know, just put it on silent mode.
Stevens has managed to keep his concentration. Half a chance here to put the match to bed. Plenty of work to do, of course. He trails by 28. Looked to split the pack, did a pretty good job. How's his luck with position? Not good. Oh, well, he has the brown, and with that red hanging over the opposite centre pocket, this isn't so bad after all.
Much easier now. A definite chance to win frame and match.
Well, he deserved a bit of luck there, didn't he? Because it was a terrific shot.
Yeah.
To split the pack of reds. Very positive from Stevens. Looking to go for the jugular.
Fortunate that that red didn't drop. Made all the difference. He'll take it.
Yes, position would have been a lot trickier from the brown had that red not hung invitingly over the lip of the pocket. But fortune tends to favour the brave in this game. And he's looking confident now. David Morris reflecting on that error when he was in. He hasn't made too many mistakes this afternoon. Stevens has just managed to find an extra level since he squared the match at 2-all. He's looking pretty ruthless right now. Very early stages of the 7th frame on table 1, by the way. John Higgins needs just one more frame. He led 4-1 against Joe Perry. Perry's pulled one back and he's at the table on a break of 15 at the start of that 7th frame, so that match still has some way to travel.
20.
Is he okay? Slightly anxious look there from Matthew. I think he's all right. Yeah, plenty of room. A bit more musical accompaniment from the mobile phones. Like an orchestra out there. Not a particularly good one, but
31.
A night at the proms, eh? Well, just a nice cannon here. And he's got every chance to win the match. Mr. Black will put his nose in front. He's got this slightly awkward one on the side cushion, but if he gets right in behind that, he can go back for the blue and just drop it in for the yellow. They're all there. This is just down to Matthew now. Doesn't normally have a problem winning frames and matches from here.
well, it really is beyond a joke. Brendan Moore looks pretty exasperated. And no wonder Matthew Stevens is just taking a step back.
Well, I'm not being funny, just taking it a step further, Phil, but they should be having stewards here and picking these people out and just say, I'm sorry, you know, you just leave to the next frame and make sure it's switched off. Don't come back in until it is switched off.
The message clearly isn't getting through. It's not a problem that's restricted to China by any means. It happens in the UK. Master of Ceremonies at the World Championship, Rob Walker, beseeches the crowd before every session at the Crucible. Turn their phones off on pain of death, and it still doesn't work. But I think it's probably fair to say that it's more of a problem at the Chinese events. Perhaps the crowd's just taking longer to appreciate just how important it is for these players to have absolute silence when they're on a break.
Yeah.
But it's not just phones. We've had cameras clicking at the point of a shot as well. All of these issues really do need to be addressed. Meanwhile, Matthew Stevens, unperturbed, he's close to the winning line here. 20 points to the good. So if he pots the black and gets on the yellow, it's game over.
Yes, he can't get close to the yellow. He's just going to have to drop this in and leave the yellow from distance. Just leave the white just a few inches off that side cushion, really. Well played. Well, it's all about the yellow. I said a few inches off the cushion. That's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. So this is not as easy as it should have been. And he still needs the yellow.
Well, it was a tough pot. So this match not quite over yet. Morris can tie with the colours.
I was just thinking out loud there, actually. Phil, I know you looked at me when he played that black. Well, I just wonder if Matthew sort of slightly miscalculated there, thinking he'd done enough.
Well, I would have thought he'd have tried to get much closer to the yellow.
Yeah. Well, he's got another chance here, but this is much tougher than the previous one. He definitely needed that white off the cushion a little further to take that yellow on.
Just the one ball required then for Stevens to leave Morris requiring snookers. Joe Perry, meanwhile, looking to claw another frame back against John Higgins. Has a useful lead in frame 7, 36 points.
Yes, he's battling away over there.
That match continuing over on Eurosport 1.
Well, first of all, I thought the white might go in the middle pocket, but it's knuckled and left it on for Matthew. And this is the easiest shot he's had so far on this yellow to clinch frame and match.
Yes, had the white dropped, Morris would have needed a snooker. He'll need one if Stevens pots the yellow.
Whatever happens here, Phil, you know, David's had a great week, hasn't he? And it's great experience for him. You know, he's guaranteed £11,500.
Which will be by far and away the most handsome payday he's enjoyed as a pro. Overcuts the yellow to Stevens. Has he covered it? I don't think he has. So half a chance here for Morris to keep this match alive for a little bit longer at least. Needs the 6 colours to force a respot. But yes, win, lose or draw, it's been a great week for David Morris. He'll take a lot out of his run here to the quarterfinals. It'll give him the belief that perhaps he might have been lacking before. Worked hard to get back on the tour through the Q School.
David Morris 2.
Well, that's not particularly a great shot. It's given David another chance here. Just depends whether he's thinking about a snooker or he's going to play for the respotted black. Oh, that needs to keep going. He's just finished a little bit in between. Unbelievable.
Rueful smile from Morris there. Another couple of inches and he would have had a straightforward pot on the brown. .22 left, 22 the difference.
Trying to play the safety. Well, again, that should have been better. He's given Matthew a half chance here. He might go for this.
Just needs the one ball.
Well, I'm sure he will go for this. I mean, just knock it in, stun off the side and top cushions with a white. Doesn't need to play on the blue.
Pretty close.
Played the half safety with it, but he hasn't got the brown safe. If he can drop this in, the white's going towards the blue. Too thin. Now then, where are they going to finish? Well, that might be his last shot.
Thin cut for Stevens, but certainly makeable. Not easy, but it's the ball he needs for another ranking semi-final. Just coming round to check the angle. Playing into a blind pocket, of course, which means that his line of vision is going away from the pocket. This for the match then. In it goes, right in the heart of the pocket, and with a relatively straightforward blue to follow, it looks as though Matthew Stevens is on the cusp here of a semi-final spot in Wuxi.
Well, it's not been a classic, has it? You know, but at the end of the day, I think for Matthew, a win is a win here. I think David will be a little bit disappointed with his performance slightly, getting this far, but it's going to be the Welshman going through.
There we are. They shake hands. A deserved victory for Matthew Stevens, who really turned it on after the mid-session interval and ended up winning 4 straight frames to complete a 5-2 victory. He is through to the semi-finals, where he'll play either John Higgins or Joe Perry.